Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
Yeah, Mac isn't joining us unfortunately today. He sounded really, really terrible. So it's
Oh,
just
so
us.
sorry he's not feeling well.
It's just us.
Well,
And
thank you for having me.
who, you're welcome, and whoever joins us, unfortunately, unlike Mac, I have no access to any other um, screens. So I can't see if anyone's there. I can't. But yeah, Mac has about six screens, six monitors.
Oh,
So
okay. I think in the chat, like if people join in the chat, we could see stuff. I think that's how it works.
yes, until then we're playing guesswork. So today, we're all about different operating systems, not the traditional sense of the words. Um,
Yeah.
so first of all, for those who don't, who may not have heard you, yeah, that's probably most people. Yes, you are, Lewis.
Hey, yes, Lewis is here. See, we have
Um,
comments there. Nice. Hello, Lewis.
so tell the audience a bit about you before we jump into the ambiguous title.
Oh, I love the title too. Well, this is my first time on this show with you, and I am so excited. Joel and I have been friends for over 2 years. He's been on my podcast, The Teacher Story, a couple of times. And I love his work because it's all about like advocating for neurodiversity, but also bringing neurodiversity and neurotypical individuals together and doing that through music, which I also love music. And I just feel like we're on the same page when it comes to like the work we do. I do a lot with education reform and believe that school should be about joy and fun and inclusive and getting kids to be part of community and not dreading school as they do. We're coming into August, and this is the time where you start to see the back to school signs everywhere, and kids are like kicking and screaming. They do not want to go, and that's not what school should be about. So, yeah, that's just what I like to talk about on the teacher story. And I am in a transition myself between getting out of the classroom, but still being in education and looking to do more with presenting at schools and hopefully helping to shape schools to become a place of joy and have fun.
Well, Jackie, I think the not only schools need to be need to have you involved. I think the people who like to play politics also may need
I'm not part of that game show yet.
someone which needs someone which has their head screwed on the right way.
Yeah, yeah, it's not a space that I'm, like, ready to dive into. Maybe one day, but not right now.
No, not be a politician, but perhaps educate them
Educate the politicians, yes. I could be a coach to the politicians.
to actually follow through with what they say it's supposed to not.
Right. This is what you don't do, everything you're doing. Just don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Um, we've got a few comments here.
Oh,
West
West Coast,
Coast.
that's awesome. I'm on the East Coast, I'm
Hey,
in New Jersey.
that's midday for you then, Lewis.
Yeah.
That's the first. My
And we
math is
have
terrible.
Ruth Cook,
We have Ruth.
hello, and
Um,
Jax. I love your name, Jax, because I'm Jackie, and I have some friends that call me Jax. That was a nickname growing up. And in peer support, service coordination, neurodivergent. Oh, that's wonderful. Yay. So nice to be here. You
having
all.
read your book, well, still reading your book really. I'm more of an audible kind of person, so I'm always on the
I
go, so
know. I need to get
listening.
on that. I
Um,
know everyone keeps saying, can you make it an audiobook? I'm like, maybe that's my next venture. I haven't done it yet.
listening, yeah. All you need is one of these. Um, so different operating systems, and it's something society really needs to get.
hmm thinking like outside the box more about how we actually do think and
Yeah.
how we do process information. It doesn't have to look like a one size fits all.
Well, yes, because that doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't.
That
We're all
doesn't
different.
exist.
Yeah, I know. And that's like why your work and my work kind of go hand in hand because in the school system, for the most part, it really is still putting kids into the same box. And they're all so
Yep.
different, whether that is neurodivergency or just like different things of like
Everyone, yeah.
what makes them passionate, what, lights them up. And then they have to be like, well, you have to take these classes and it has to be at this level and you have to get this grade and you have to, and it's always like you have to. Like you have to do all these things. Like I would love to be like, so why do I have to take 4 years of math? Or why do I have to take 4 years of history? Like, what's the point at the end of the day? Like I can go on Google. Like, I mean, for a lot of things.
Now this is the first time I believe we've had a teacher on here.
Oh, is it?
Um, so and an open and a very open teacher. So I'm of the mind where pieces of paper are all well and good telling you what you can do, but if you can't actually be able to demonstrate what you can do, that paper counts for jack shit.
That's so true. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts with the current examination, uh,
Mm,
the ways that people are tested? Because obviously, testing is like experimenting,
yeah.
and it's in a way, in a weird way, in a weird, less invasive way. It's a less invasive form of human experimentation, which I
Mm.
thought was not allowed, but okay.
Well, I know testing in the UK is a little different than in the United States. I think it's actually a lot more testing, and you have to get a certain test to move on to the next grade. Like we have
Yes,
state
it's now
testing.
we've now got
Yeah.
the number we've now got the number system which has
Yeah.
replaced the letter system, so it's now 0 to 9.
Okay. I just think a lot of the tests are created by people that don't actually study education and don't study psychology or child development. And there are so, again, for one type of thinking. And a lot of tests are built on memorization. And I don't know what memorization actually gets you besides memorizing a bunch of things. Like it can get you so far when you're like learning a
Yep,
language, right? Maybe just learning basic math for the first time.
exactly.
There is a reason for some memorization, but a lot of standardized tests that these kids have to take is based on how well you know how to take a test, like the strategy of taking it, and it doesn't show you anything about what you really understand or what you really can do. So I mean, I was fortunate to be in private school for the last like good chunk of my teaching years and we didn't do a lot of testing, but there was still like classes. I taught advanced placement psychology and we had to basically teach to a test and it was, it takes the joy out of teaching and learning when all you're thinking
Yeah,
about is I have to get an A or I have to get this score. And if I don't, that means I won't do well in this or I won't get a college credit or I won't move on to the next grade. And there's a lot of this fear. It's all fear based.
yes,
You won't get to
yeah,
this level. You won't get this credit. You won't get this degree. And like you just said, what does the paper mean if you can't show what you actually can do?
yes.
So what would be a
99%
better
true.
way to do it? What do you think? Like what would be a better way for kids or anyone to show what they know how to do?
Well, I don't know about any other sector, but I do know that to I do know, and it's a shame. It's a shame. One of my connections who is in cybersecurity is not on this, who can actually corroborate this. Um, but the testing that they do um, for kid teenagers, they have these hackathons.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but doing stuff in a practical environment, especially giving permission to break someone's computer, um, is
I've
far
never
more
heard of that
appealing. It's
before.
far more appealing than
A hackathon. So what does that look like?
a whole bunch of teachers, students, students, and mostly students in a room with obviously under controlled environments, um, to effectively try and become the fastest person to break through the system, and
Hmm.
then uh, they would either, if they're too young, they win a prize, or if but they also use this kind of thing when they're hiring people as well.
Hmm. I've never heard of that before.
It's quite common in that particular sense, but that's the only industry that I know that does it. If anyone can, and I know the British Secret Service does it. I don't know about the Pentagon, but
Yeah. I think like someone like you could be a great mentor for kids because you're an entrepreneur, right? You're building your business, RockstarX, but you also have been in a teaching role as like teaching music to
yep.
kids. And so I think like you going into schools and saying like, here's my background, here's how I've worked with kids, but then here's what I've done to be building my own business. And what does that look like? I think kids actually becoming entrepreneurs in any way. Like, I think when we hear the word entrepreneurs, we just think, oh, you're going to make a business to make money. And it's not. It can be a nonprofit, it could be something you care about, like your mission work that you do.
And
And
when parents hear that word, they think, oh, so when are you going to get a real job?
exactly, because they think that you're going to invest all this money and you're not going to make any money and there's no security in it. But then being an entrepreneur is also like doing something on your own and that you
Mm-hmm.
care about and you're passionate about, and then you're trying to like get that out there so that other people can want to like maybe get on board with you, like giving even the mindset of being an entrepreneur to kids. Like you could just be a creative person and you
Yeah.
can make a living being a creative person. I think we took creativity away from schools and away from what kids can do, because I think the arts, even music, people still see it as like, oh, you're not going to make any money, you're going to be a starving artist, right? It's like
Well,
a terrible way to frame it.
technically, that may be somewhat true for about 90% of the musicians now, because the music industry has. Well, that's another story entirely for another day. But they've effectively ruined what was booming in the 80s,
Hmm.
and the labels have now ruined it. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Carrie
the streaming
mentioned,
services.
I wonder when educators will understand that humans co create, which requires the unique perspectives. That is so true. You can't do everything in a vacuum by yourself. Like we actually do better work when we're working with people and working with people with diverse backgrounds. Like it actually is helpful, helps us think. Yeah. So I love that comment, Carrie. Thank you.
I think
Montessori schools, yeah, that's a really good
we have those
system
over here.
too. You do have those too?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of our schools that have Montessori only go up to 8th grade, so like 13 years old. So it'd be really great to take a model like that for secondary school. I just think that kids lose their spark by the time they get to like high school, which is like 9th grade here. So they're like 14 years old. And then they
Yeah,
start to
it's
be
about that.
stressed out. They're like having, I call it the teenage
Right.
life crisis.
You start at 14. We start high school at 12. We
Okay.
go into high school at
Yeah, that's
12.
early. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's interesting. But what can schools do? This probably goes straight back to the
Wow.
government. This goes probably goes straight back to the government as well. But
Yeah. Can't rely on the government. I
yeah,
feel
well,
like there
you
needs
kind of
to be
have
better
to.
leaders, you know? Yeah, better leaders. Well, we do need better leaders in the government, but we also need, I
No, I
think,
mean you kind of
better.
have to if it's state schools or
It's
public schools.
true with
You
state
kind of
schools.
you're at the
Mm.
mercy of having your hands tied.
It all is a trickle-down effect. So, yeah, your policymakers are in the government, then they're gonna go to the school board, and the school board members have a say. So I
Yeah.
think you need to have more inspiring, visionary people up above, and I don't know how you can get them out and get people like that in, because there's, like, this whole cyclical thing where people just stay in because 'cause they're comfy jobs. They're comfy, they pay well, and then they don't really change that much. You also have to get voted in, so you have to inspire people to vote for the right people in those, like, Department of Education positions and board positions.
And there are poor, and then they get poor candidates like the correct ones.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't think there's one singular answer. I think it's more of us talking about it and getting more people
Yeah.
thinking outside the box and sharing ideas, and I think, like, sharing it from other countries. Like, you still have a lot of the same concerns with the school system in the UK like I do in America. Like, we're not that different.
Oh yeah.
And so you find a lot of countries are still kind of struggling with the same thing.
We're struggling with schools. We're struggling with the with the penal system. I mean, yeah, it's all
Yeah, and
there.
they funnel into each other, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, if kids don't feel supported in their school community, that could lead to more crime. It could lead to them
Yeah.
getting into the prison system. They call it in America the whole school to prison pipeline, because kids can just be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's a reassuring way of thinking.
I know they
Your
do say that though here
your
in our
future
country.
kids are in prison. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's like you're gonna enter school and you're gonna leave in prison. So that's not inspiring. That's not what we want at all.
No, it's not.
Um, yeah, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it is gonna have to start with leadership and getting the right people into those positions. And
So
I think what's happening too is the state schools, public school is what we call it in America, is that it's they're kind of dying because there's more private schools and charter schools, but also micro schools and homeschooling. So people are starting to choose different ways to do school because they're
yeah,
like, it's not working in the state-run system.
no.
So it's going to kind of force the hand of public education to they have to get creative. They have to have better leadership.
And what can we do currently to um well shout it from the rooftops if we must, or
Well, me personally, that's why I do things like this, like coming on your LinkedIn Live. I think you have really engaging conversations, getting people to think differently. So as much as I think we can get like on YouTube, on podcast, on LinkedIn Lives, I plan to want to get on a TEDx at some point and like we just have to keep getting out there and getting in front of as many audiences as possible and including other people with us and trying to just get people to kind of change that mindset. So I've been working on my mission for 2 years, and 2 years doesn't sound that long, but when you're working every day at it, you're like, is this going to get anywhere? I don't know, but you just got to keep doing it. Like, how about you with RockstarX? You've been at this like a really long time, and part of what you're doing is educational.
I've been at this a really long time, Jackie, and a lot of it is educational right now because that's all we can technically do at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, and sorry, I'm just when you said TEDx, my mind and thinking, right, who do I have any connections to introduce you to?
Yes, please. It is like very, very hard to get on one. I mean, I just started to look at it and like start to think about applying. I mean, it's I know a lot of people who have done it on their own, but it takes a lot longer. And then people that have done it with help, like coaching, and then they're able to like move it along. But I think it's like getting out there and speaking more about it and trying to build the momentum. Yeah. Change the legislation.
That's not
Yes.
just in school. That's not just the education one. We need every
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, because the curriculum hasn't changed that much and it's really confining. Like kids are not inspired by what we're teaching them. And
No, I need to put
school
this
is
on.
is for the kids. It's not for the adults. We already did it. And none of us probably really liked it that much. Mm, they are like
Yes.
prisons. Yeah.
And the UK ones are no
Mm,
better, but and the
yeah.
yeah. So
Oh, yeah, that's so true. See, we all are on the same page here. We see it. Like, you don't
so
want kids to go to a place and feel like they're in prison. That's not, like, a terrible feeling.
you left your salary job recently.
Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah, pretty recently in June.
And to 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 pursue better things. So how many teachers are actually doing that?
A lot. I mean, I know at least in America, there's a huge transitioning teacher kind of movement. It started, I would say 2 years ago when I started my podcast. That's kind of what was the catalyst of that. And I knew eventually I would be part of that, but my mission is not just to leave to just say I'm going to go to corporate or I'm just going to go and do like just something else. I had to like kind of remove myself from the classroom because it was taking up a lot of my energy and I didn't see a lot of me being able to make like systemic changes or do more on the inside, especially when like there's so much work and you just don't have any other bandwidth or time to do anything. So stepping out of it, and now I'm looking to do professional development where I'm going back into schools, speaking with teachers and administrators, hopefully being with schools that are embracing change and wanting to do different types of curriculum, maybe do that different things with their school
Yeah,
environment, make it more inspiring and more joyful. And then talking to more people on the ground and not just necessarily virtually or like on a podcast, but like actually meeting
yeah.
people in as many spaces as possible. Because
Oh, that'd be
sometimes you
nice.
have to leave something to make a bigger impact. You
Yes.
know, if you just stay in something, spinning your wheels, doing the same thing,
Yep.
but you want to make a difference, like you just have to make sometimes that hard decision.
And my train of thought is gone now.
Well, we have another comment here. I like this approach, Jax. We need more kinesthetic and experiential learning. Somatics combined with social emotional learning. Yes, that's great. So, yeah, using the body, feeling the things in your body, talking about your emotions and how you socialize
Yeah.
and interact with people. Like, that's important ways to live as a human. And I think we need more of a human centric approach to school and not like, I think a lot of times school, you feel like a robot. You're like, just get on the
And then
conveyor belt,
it
punch all the things, do all the things.
and then it gets cemented almost when when you join the workforce.
Yeah. Yep. And then you just become kind of like a worker bee. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I hope that you'll
Mm.
be also going after.
Yeah. No, it's too much about industry. Like we didn't create schools. Well, that's why it was created because of the Industrial Revolution. But we can't see school as like you are just going to be a worker and we need you over here working and over here working. And like we're
Yeah.
not going to ask you what you want. We're not going to really have you tap into your passion or what you really want. And if you want to be an artist and an entrepreneur, we're going to tell you that's not going to make any money. And so we're going to shoot down those dreams. And we're going to do it really young. And we're going to tell you this is where
And
you're going to make money.
you're also taught really useful bullshit in school and not actually taught how to actually not actually taught real life stuff. You're not taught real life stuff.
Yeah.
I mean
Kids want that too. Like when I had
how
an
am I
advisory class, they want to just talk about stuff,
I
important
mean
things.
I'm like if I was quite a wise mouth when I was in school, but I didn't actually
You are a wise ass. I can't believe that.
I didn't actually say I was actually a good one as well. So I didn't actually speak my mind, but I could have done. Um, I
Did
remember
you get in
thinking,
trouble?
no, I remember thinking, um, when we were sitting here in maths and we were sitting in woodwork. I mean, like, where the hell am I going to use this?
Mm-hmm.
What? unless I'm a banker, where the heck am I going to use this?
I know. I think there's kids still saying that today. I get the idea of you needing to progress through a certain level
Yes.
of expertise if you want to go into something where you really need to know that math or that science or literature or whatever that is. There's basic core fundamental knowledge and skills you need to know. And I think by the time you get to high school, you can then allow kids to start to experiment and figure out what they really want to learn. Like I think kids need choice. Like when I see ninth graders come into school, maybe there's some transition into high school, like secondary, and then you're like, okay, what do you really enjoy learning about? What do you enjoy doing? How do you want to spend your time here? They spend a lot of time in school, more time than sometimes with their families.
Yes, and now the UK wants to wants to propose a 12-hour school day
Oh, that's ridiculous. It's too long already. I feel like
to keep
school should
kids
be
in
like 5
school, to
hours.
keep them busy and off their
Yeah.
phones.
Yeah, and then they're thinking we just need them to like comply and be busy. We don't really care if they're engaged. So then they're going to leave even more drained and like depressed.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like school can be longer if you do something more engaging with the school environment, or you use some of the time to say, we're going to go off campus and we're going to do like a work study or do a service project or go experiment on something. So you could still use the time of the day and have supervision and have guidance, but also like not just go from class to class to class sitting at a desk. Like if you think about us as humans, I mean, I don't like it if I'm on a Zoom call all day long. Who really wants to sit at a desk for 8 hours and all your break
not
is really like
not me.
lunchtime?
Not
Maybe
me.
gym class too, and that's it. Yeah, 5 hours max. I agree. Like
Yeah, gym
I feel
class
like
I
a
never
5-hour work day is good.
gym class I never really got in school. I'm like, do you have a point to this, mate?
Or like at least be able to say, how do you want to take care of your body and do exercise? I would have been like, I like to
I will
walk, I
take
like
care of
to
my
hike.
body and exercise by not in a class in front of other people. I want
Yeah.
to
Or I don't need to
be
play floor
able to
hockey.
actually do stuff what I need to do. How many times do one go to the gym and say, "Yeah, I'll play a bit of dodgeball"?
I do like dodgeball, actually. I think it's kind of fun. It's so fun to throw balls at people. Like, just throw the ball. There's actually they're in like I'm outside the Philadelphia area and there's a adult like dodgeball, like adult like sports groups. And I joined a dodgeball one like some years ago and they get really aggressive. And there was one person that actually hurt themselves at dodgeball. I'm like, how do you hurt yourself at dodgeball? Because they threw it so hard. I think they like tweaked something in their wrist or shoulder. I'm like, yeah, because when you get to your 30s and 40s, you can't really play dodgeball like that anymore.
So trying
So
to put all
play
these
drums. Yeah,
subjects,
martial arts. I love it.
trying
Yeah,
to
like there's
put
so many
all
other activities you could do in that time of the day. Not
yeah.
just like the same boring stuff over and over, you know? You can go into schools and be like their music teacher and teach them all different types of instruments and getting them to like maybe like make a band instead of like perfect a certain sound in an instrument. Like experiment. I think it
Yes,
should be all about like experimenting with
it
what
should
you
be.
enjoy to do. And
That's
not everything
why.
has to have a grade.
So you go into a school and then you're taught subjects which you didn't even sign up for.
Mhm.
And then you go into and then you get interviewed for a job which you kind of somehow need to fit into and actually be good for. And then there's what I do, which is I find the person, I build the role
Mm, that's
around the
smart.
person.
Is that what you've done with RockstarX?
But yeah,
That's smart. I mean, I think that's actually very like
I get to know the
it
people.
makes
I
sense.
get to know. Say I ask the question, what are your strengths? What do you like to do? And then I build the role around that.
And you're like, this is how I could fit into this mission.
Yeah.
And then it grows. And then you're growing your company and you have more buy-in because you have people that actually feel like they're using their like unique talents and skills and not fitting into a job description.
You have to learn work songs.
Wildlife survival classes. Oh, that's cool. I
I
would not
think
be able
just
to
going
survive
to.
in the wild.
I think just going to school is a survival in itself.
Going to school can be considered wildlife survival classes. If you've ever watched them, there's this movie called Mean Girls, and
Yep,
it's
I
like
watched
these
it.
girls, they like mimic them in the lunchroom, like the cafeteria, like acting like wild, like
Yeah.
hyenas or animals, like going at each other. So school can kind of be like a safari, if you will.
No problem. No problem, Carrie.
Thanks, Gary. It's great to see you.
So, yeah. So how can we get the model of
Mm.
making a program of subjects around the student as opposed to the other way around?
Yeah. Ask the students what they want to do. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
why we're not asking
I
them,
always
like,
ask my students, "What songs do you? What songs do
yeah,
you
what do
like?
you want to
What do
learn?
you
What do you want to
what do you
do?
listen to? What do you listen to now? You want to learn
Yeah.
that? Fine. Let's go. Let's break it down."
I've seen some places bring students onto the school board. So if you actually have student input on the school board, because the school
Yep.
board is the one making a lot of the decisions in a school district. And so why don't you bring some of those leaders in the school community at different
Yep.
ages? So like say you're talking about high school, have a ninth grader, a 10th, 11th, and 12th, and have them sit on the board, and they should have just as much power and say as the adults on the board. And then you're also talking about intergenerational collaboration. Older people with some life experience and wisdom, and then the younger people saying, "This is what we want," and you make
Yeah.
decisions together. That is not that difficult to do, and
And if you then
students would
ask the
love that.
if you then ask the young people, so you want art, music, fantastic. Tell us
Yeah,
how we can raise the money for it.
how you could do that. Yeah. I bet they can come up with tons of ideas.
Don't just
Kids are
say the default.
entrepreneurial. Yeah.
Don't just say the default. Oh, it's impossible.
I know. But see, like the generations now don't think things are really impossible. They're very innovative. They use a lot with social media. So TikTok and Instagram. Like I had
Mm.
many students have their own businesses. So they know how to like
Yep.
fundraise, how to make money. We just have to ask them.
Many
You're just
students are
inviting
also
them
selling.
in.
I don't know about over in America, but many students over here sell in the playground food and stuff.
They sell their food on the
They
playground,
sell food in the playground, yeah.
like
And
snacks.
then one school, every single break time without fail, um,
Mm,
you can see a boy scaling the
mhm.
fence, go over to the local bakery, pick up some, pick up some food, bring it, climb back over the fence that he just climbed over, which is very high, and start selling it for more than he bought it for.
I mean, that's
To the
business.
point
That's a
where
smart
teachers,
salesperson.
even though it's not allowed and it's against school rules, some of the teachers were buying the food.
That's fun. I love it. Yeah, and like I think teachers would be the ones, not all, because some of them are not fully there yet to be like embracing this new way of school, but many are, especially young ones, to say, let's take our students and lift them up and bring them to the school
Yeah,
board and say, we want them to start talking and having a say in what we're doing in the school. Like if you ask them, like, what is the most important thing to learn? They're going to tell you life skills. They're going to tell you relationship skills. I get it all the time from teenagers, all the time. And they want to feel like people actually listen to them. I
yeah.
can't tell you how many teenagers have told me adults don't listen to us. We're not important. And like you
No,
can't
that's
just
true.
wait till 18 to have a voice. You
Even
can
then, you
have a
don't have
voice
it.
at it.
Even then, you don't have a voice.
Yeah. They like to think that you're an adult by then. But then kids don't feel like an adult because no one gave them any
No,
responsibility or asked them what they think about things.
no.
No.
And then their parents are always in such a hurry to shivvy them out the door and to
Yeah.
uh, and like how am I meant to do that while I'm saving from the future, which you keep telling me I should have?
Yeah, you want them to be leaders in society. You want them to be successful adults, but yet up until 18, we're just like, we're still going to talk to you like you're a child and we're not going to trust you. And you need to be supervised at all times. Kids do not need to be supervised at all times when they get to be
No.
a teenager. I think we can have spaces in schools where it's not like all eyes on kids constantly, but you also have to build the culture in. So you have to build a culture in where kids know that they're accountable, and if they want a safe and like open environment, they're all accountable over their own behavior and actions and being like able to work with other individuals. But you have to build that in, and you have to do it in a way that you're saying, we're going to relinquish some of the power, some of the supervision, but we're going to put some trust into you. And most of the time, the kids will step up. Oh, Jackson Elementary in Atlanta is a great example of child-centered learning and child-directed organization. It's not all broken. Oh, I love that. I'm gonna have to look up that school. Thank you. If there's any more, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, Aniki. Um, if there's any more you want to share about the school, or if there's a link, if you have a link to the school, something you want to put in the chat, that would be awesome. Thank you. Yeah, no, I think there's
Um,
great examples out there for sure. There's also been really great examples of some of the like the wilderness programming, like some nature schools. I went to visit a school in Bali, and it's called the Green School, and it was very much about like building in nature programs. Kids should be doing more outside too
mm.
and getting like connected with nature, because again, if we're just sitting at a computer all day or sitting just in desks for 8 hours, it's also not good for the body.
Yeah, that is true. And I just found the website, by the way. Um,
Oh, you did? Good. You put it in the chat
and
for me.
I think this is it. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is it. Now LinkedIn people
Yeah.
can't see it. But,
Oh, cool. Thank you. That's awesome. Thanks for putting I see it. Um, yeah, Jax, I also agree with that self-regulation. Like that's all part of kind of like that emotional intelligence, which we don't fully promote. It's getting talked about more. So I will say we're on kind of a cusp of things bringing awareness to social emotional learning, EQ, emotional intelligence,
yeah.
and talking about self. There are some places where they're doing like meditation in schools, deep breathing exercises, getting kids to take breaks when they're getting worked up or frustrated or stressed out, like giving them some skills and strategies to like take a break. And I think that's great to see that. Mm.
I would love to actually.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I
What?
I wish the UK had more schools like Jackson.
Yeah, that I want to click on that link too. So if you could, Joel, create like a
Mm.
school, like if you wanted to start a school, what would
Yeah.
you want it to look like? I'm gonna
We've
copy
all
this.
seen School of Rock, right?
Yeah,
Without the
I love
uniforms,
School of Rock.
without the
Without the
uniforms, I want to bring the fun into the education world.
mm, yeah, it should be like a family.
Yeah, and it should
Yeah.
be, as fun as, well, granted the wrong T-shirt, but as fun as Jack Black made it.
Yeah, and people
It
feeling
should
like
be
they're
all the
all part of
sameness.
something. Yeah.
If you're sitting behind the desk, that the same rule should apply. If you're in school, if you're sitting behind the desk for an hour, you have 15-minute break before you move to the to the next classroom, next lesson. I thought we were always told to for every hour we were on the computer we have to take a 15
Mm,
minute break,
mm-hmm.
and yet you go from one classroom to the other without
Yeah, and there's
break.
usually only like 5 minutes, like
Yeah,
turnaround, maybe 10 minutes
yeah,
in some places.
yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of feels disjointed when you're like, so I sat in math class for 45 minutes. Now in 5 minutes, turn around. I have to pee. I got to go to the bathroom, and now I got to make a big deal out of that. And
Yep.
they might not let me go. And then now I'm doing a history lesson, and then I'm doing PE, and then now I'm doing, social studies, and then it's all all over the place instead of just building in maybe chunks of the day where you're working on a project and working on something where you're using math, science, English, social studies, art, music, even moving your body, all of those in activity, a project, going off campus. So using that interdisciplinary type of projects, because I think we're putting things still in their silos and then kids don't
Yep.
see the connection. Like I often would tell them, because I taught history and psychology, I'm like, I teach history and we would never think of it as a science. But if you really think about almost everything we learn has science components to it. Because if you think about, you have a theory or an idea. So just like when you write a paper, you have to have a thesis.
Yep.
You go and gather evidence, just like you gather data, right,
Yep.
in an experiment. And then you have to prove it or you don't prove anything. And then you go back to the drawing board. So it's like doing
Yeah.
rough drafts of writing. So if you think about everything in life, it's using the scientific method. And the kids are like, whoa, really? There's science in history, there's science in literature. I'm like, there's science in everything. Start to see how these different ways of thinking are blending together. So that's what I loved about teaching psychology, because they'd be like, I see psychology in my literature class. I see it in my bio class. I see it in statistics. I'm like, it's literally everything, because psychology is how we're
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
So, but they are so trained at being like, I think it's just over here as one thing, and then this is over here as one thing, and they don't blend together. I'm like, they do blend together. Everything at some point intersects. And that's what we also need to be showing them, is that there is connection between so many things. Yeah. Yeah. Just 4 years of science that were all woven together. And that's what we need to show the kids, is that these are all connected. And when they see the interconnection between subjects and topics, they also then can start to see the interconnectedness with themselves and their community. It's all the same. So, how do you connect to other people in the community? How do you embrace your diversity, but also see how you are connected? STEAM. Oh, STEAM has the arts. Yeah. I like that. I like the arts with the sciences, because you don't ever, again, traditional
Yeah.
mindset is they don't go together, but they do. I love that too.
They
Really
do go. They
great
do go together.
topics here.
They do go
Hmm.
together. And so Jackie, what's your I mean, I know teacher story is probably finished.
Yeah, let's write a curriculum. We
Um,
should. That's kind of on the plan too. Um,
what's the next
well, I think
after
I'm
that?
I'm in a space where anything could be next. So I took a break from my podcast because I needed to take a break while I'm in a job search and just transitioning. But I also want to rebrand it. And you know a little bit about that. Come
Yes, I do.
January 2025, I'm going to be rebranding it, not
Do you
announcing the
want
new
to
title.
do you want to start doing that before so then you can
I am going
actually
to start doing some stuff before January. Yeah. So starting in November, I'll probably start seeing who wants to be guests and topics that I want to talk about, and then start to market it and get
I'm
the
talking about the
launch.
branding.
Yeah. The branding probably by November, and then leading it into the holidays.
Yeah, we'll have a conversation after this.
Yes. Well, you're going to probably be on there or part of it, definitely, because I think we have a lot of combined ideas. I think a lot of what we're talking about right here would be a great episode. But I want it to be more expansive than just education or just interviewing teachers,
Yeah.
but a lot of big topics, ideas, thoughts that could be woven into education, but into so many other, like we talked about government. We could talk about, yeah, the judicial system. I think looking at systems and how we
Yeah.
start to shift them and mold them into something that's going to actually work for people. And yeah, I think that's where I'm at now for that part. And hopefully landing something where I'm getting into schools and working with lots of different people and supporting. I still want to support teachers. I advocate for them. I care
Yeah.
about them because many of them have the heart. They care about what they're doing and they want to see it change. So I do believe that we can do that working together.
And also in
Hmm.
schools, I'm all for people's safety. I'm not knocking this whatsoever, but I find it a little bit of a hypocritical lie when we tell our children do not talk to strangers.
And why is that?
Because when you enter a new place, they are full of strangers. You don't know them yet.
True. I mean, look at how networking is a bunch of strangers at first, right? And
Networking
then
with
you
a bunch of
network.
strangers. Gaming online with a bunch of strangers. School, when you first join, is a bunch of strangers.
It's so
Every
true.
establishment is a bunch of strangers, and yet we told don't talk to strangers.
Yay, my friend Yerum's here. Oh, I love you. Yes, entrepreneurship. I really want to push that in schools. I feel like that is the new era. Like there are more entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs, like even like Gen Z, that is like really now coming into
Yep.
like their 20s. You're going to see more Gen Z that are hopefully getting involved in politics and government positions because they have an entrepreneurial mindset. They think much differently than even millennials and definitely generations before that. But I do believe in intergenerational collaboration because I think we don't want to just like downplay like older generations and say, oh, you have nothing to offer anymore. That's not true. They have life wisdom. They also have, in their own way, a lot of connections and a lot of things that they have awareness about systems. So
Mm.
if you bring the older generation in with the newer generation and have the entrepreneurial mindset, that's powerful. Like that could be a really powerful way of doing school and getting, people, again, I'm going back to the school boards because the school boards control a lot of decision making. And so getting students on those school boards and having just as much say as the adults on there. And there are places that are doing that, but if we could transform that and make that across the board, like something we do in all state-run system, public schools, that school boards must have students on them. I think that could even just be another shift in kind of like having a trickle effect of then starting to
Yep.
get more student voice in the curriculum and in how they want to see their school spaces. Love you too, friend. Love you, Ram. I meet strangers on my networking journey. Yeah, everyone was a stranger in LinkedIn land, but now they're friends. Like Joel and I, we're like good friends. Like everyone I've had on my podcast, like I've made such good friends. And honestly, it's been like the best way to make authentic relationships. And they start off as strangers, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, and I love this. I would love to collab with people. Yes, Jax, I love all your ideas too. I think that writing curriculum and coming in with some of these different approaches would be awesome. And that is also, I think, the power of networking is collaboration.
Have networking collaboration it, and yes, I mean that that
Well, you're like brilliant at collaboration.
and
You
cooperation
collaborate
as
with
well.
so many people. Yeah, and even your
Unfortunately,
team.
in 2025, I want to start actually coming in person to these places and actually
Yeah,
speaking.
I know. I know.
Um,
We have to find a faster way to
Currently,
travel, a faster way, a more affordable way of travel. That will be another episode on the podcast too. How can we speed up science so we can
anyone got a
travel
DeLorean?
faster? I just watched Back to the Future the other night. That's so
Which
funny.
one?
The first one. It's the
Oh,
best.
I watch all three in one go.
I know I love them all, but the first one is the best one. I love that. It's so funny. Yes, we all need a DeLorean.
Apparently, they're bringing it back now.
They're gonna do another one.
No, the car.
Oh, they're gonna bring back the DeLorean.
Yeah,
That would actually be kind of cool to see on the road.
but a newer model.
Yeah, newer model, like more modern. But I kind of like if they had it still had an 80s vibe. Have like the 80s cars come back, but just like maybe more high tech inside and like better like fuel, alternative fuel and stuff like that. That's so funny. Yes. Hyperloop. I love it. That's awesome.
Yes,
Back to the Future too. Yes.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
this was a great chat too.
all these films have one thing in common, I believe. Directors are somewhere on the neurodivergent spectrum.
Hmm. Really? Yeah.
Especially Tim Burton.
I love Tim Burton. Oh my gosh. He's one of my favorites. I
I
think I've like
really like.
I don't think I've watched
Really,
all his films, but I've watched a lot of Tim Burton films.
I was tested. I think because I read that as Chitty Chitty Bong Bong, and I read your name as Hey Jackass.
Where is this conversation going now? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I remember that's an oldie. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
exactly.
Well,
But
Lewis mentioned great chat, but I'm like, it's because of everyone here. And that's what it's like. We're not
this has been the
strangers. You
most. This has
come.
been the most active. This has been one of our most active chats in the comment section.
I love it. It's great. We're getting like tons of ideas. Well, I think it's also, the synergy of the group. Like you and me. I wish Mac
Yeah.
was here too. I think that would have been even like more synergy. And then everyone hears that's in the group. And then you bring this again, different ways of thinking, different ways of approaching a conversation. You put it in the chat, you talk about it, and then you leave inspired because you're like, oh, I learned something new today, or I thought about doing something with school differently, or I want to buy a DeLorean. I think they should bring back the DeLorean. Have you seen the new Tesla car? I don't know if they have that in the
So
UK
many.
yet.
I mean,
It's
so
like this
many.
big, huge tank of a car. I've seen it in a couple places in New
You
Jersey.
mean the Cybertruck?
The Cybertruck, that's what it's called. Yeah, the thing is
Or
really
or
ugly.
as I like to call it, the cyber. Yes, I'm not going to say the name.
It's really ugly, but it's supposed to be
I
like indestructible. Like you're get in a car accident, like your car's not going to get damaged. You won't get hurt.
all I'll say. I I like to call it something else, but all I'll say is replace the R, remove the R, replace the T with an F.
This is a PhD show, okay?
That's why I said.
We started talking about school, and now we went off the
But
rails.
I mean, Elon Musk. All jokes aside, love him or hate him, he's also Asperger's. Well, don't know how true that
He's
is, but
neurodivergent, yeah. Yeah. Mm,
I don't know if it's Asperger's. I think it's more ADHD because he goes from one thing to the other to the other.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. You think
He's
about a
like
lot of
a.
successful people in either the arts,
Mm,
business, science
yep.
are, neurodivergent in some way. And
Teaching.
there's like a huge teaching. Yeah. And it's a huge, like, I remember we did a lesson at my school in our advisory class, and there was like this whole like um, kind of spectrum of neurodivergency. And like got me thinking of we don't think about neurodivergency enough. And we also put it in a box, right? We put those people in a box and think it's only one way of thinking differently. And I'm like, no, there's so many ways that you think differently, you know? And you bring something really unique and special in that way. So instead of thinking of lack, like we always
Yeah.
go to, oh, you need a learning plan, you need help in this. And you might still need tools and strategies to help you with certain things, but why don't we start with abundance? Like
Mm,
you think in this way, wow, that's really unique and different because you bring this to the conversation. You bring this to the group because divergent thinking, when you get a group of people thinking differently, is the best way to create something new. That's how you're really going to create new systems, is actually getting a bunch of people together who think differently and embracing it.
yeah.
Yep.
Also, I do want
Mm,
to, before time does
Cybertruck.
end,
Ebrom's like,
I do,
Cybertruck. Yeah, Cybertruck. Look it up,
I
Ebrom.
do
It
want,
is
I
the
do
new
want
car.
to,
It is not cute.
I do want to bring up something which was 6 days ago, uh, in our papers over here. I don't know whether you have them over there,
Hmm.
but according to a paper according to several papers in the UK, this is one of my connections. Dan Harris went absolutely ballistic with this because there is no cure. Um, Apparently, researchers have discovered a way to reverse autism.
Hmm. So they're saying it's something that needs to be cured.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-mm. That's the wrong approach. And like that's the wrong messaging to
Yeah, that is the wrong
kids
messaging.
and adults and like saying because what they're saying to people is like there's something wrong with you and it needs to be fixed. And no
Yeah.
one needs to be fixed. Right? I mean, we all have things that we want to work on to make ourselves better people. But the way that your brain operates, the way that you think of things in new and creative novel ways, it's nothing to be fixed. Yeah, that's awful. I'm sure they're getting blasted for that.
And they're getting a lot of publicity for that as well. The Mail did it over here, the Telegraph over here. It's ridiculous. Miracle trial claims severe autism can be reversed. What an utter lot of bullshit.
So, okay, Ruth, thank you. I will connect with LCR in Apple Valley. I'm just going to make a note of myself.
Apple computers have a valley now,
LCR.
do they? A
That's
park
really
wasn't
cool.
enough. They
Thank
need the
you.
whole valley. Okay.
The
Well, thank.
Cybertrank are civilian tanks in preparation for the next World War, Civil Wars. Oh gosh,
Well, that would
I
be
hope
true
not.
if they were completely indestructible, but
Why am I seeing more on the road in New Jersey?
because
And
they're
I'm
like
between New York
they're
City and
be it's
Philadelphia
be
and DC.
my guess is with the Cybertruck they're like the Tesla Model 3 equivalent over here. Everywhere I go, I see a Model 3.
Okay.
Everywhere I go, I see the Model 3 or the Model Y. Everywhere I go.
I
So
just
the
want to get a
Cybertruck
Bronco
could be.
Sport. That's what I want. It's a cute car. I really like it. I'm not in getting a new car anytime soon, but that's good. It's what I'm going to be looking at. Oh my
Thank you,
gosh.
Jackie, for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This has been
And
fun.
everyone has a different operating system. We just have to treat everyone as such.
Hmm. And embrace those operating systems. Embrace it and
Yes.
see it as something good and special. Oh, this has been such a great conversation. Thanks everyone in the chat. This is like wonderful ideas. You got me all inspired. And I always love chatting with Joel because he makes me laugh and he gets me thinking about things in a different way. So thank you for having me on. This is our first one. I'm sure
Yes.
we'll have more.
Hopefully more, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming, and we will see you on the next one, which I believe is in August. And I've forgotten who I'm actually doing then, so interviewing. So yes, we'll see you with that one in August, and
Bye, everyone.
see you all soon.